Burke for the title. Who will get the championship? Let's find out. We're racing to the first corner as Jackson Susan Harlow holds on in front of Yukapo, tries to go right round the outside. Kai Burke's into third, already taking on his championship opponents as a couple of drivers mix it in the midfield. There's a big squabble of the deck further back, but Yukapo is into second. Third is Kai Burke. The championship contenders are nose to tail. Yukapo's having to go defensive early because Kai Burke knows he's got to get ahead of first you and then Jackson Susan Harlow to get the job done. Jackson's here just to win. He doesn't want to give away a victory, but he knows that there is a chance that Kai Burke is going to be on him like a lead brick. Here we go as into the battle comes Teoh Hardia, the Indonesian. Is Hardia going to make the bid here to get past Kai Burke? That would certainly undo a lot of the effort for Burke. But on this first start, the Bira Asia man from Australia is pushing crazy hard out of the hairpin and on the tail of the Explorer. Into the second lap we go. Jackson Susan Harlow leads. Burke, Hardia, Teoh, Ibrahim, Komunakul, Talak and Misra. So all the way, there's going to be a challenge, and up the inside of Burke, that is Hardia and Teoh. They both go past Kai Burke. That is going to make the task even harder for the Australian, as Komunakul tries to get up the inside of Daeng Ibrahim. But Kai Burke now falls away to fifth position. That is a tough break for the Australian. He needs to stay as close to Yukapo as possible here. But certainly the way things currently stack up, if Yukapo remains in second and Kai Burke remains in fifth position, then the title will go to Hong Kong. But it's not done yet. There's still a lot to do. Oh, and there's been contact. Contact further back. It looks like we've got a card off. That is Clifford Kanjanapis. Clifford Kanjanapis, for the second time today, is out before half distance. As there go the leaders past his position. And Travis Teoh is now right up behind his teammate, Teoh Hardia, as they will try to take on Jackson Susan Harlow and Yukapo up in front. And there is a mechanical flag going out for Chivers Lee. So a mechanical flag then for Chivers Lee. That means that he will have to come into the pits to repair his kart. And that is difficult enough for Chivers Lee. He was already having a tough race of it, but I'm afraid damage to the kart now means he will have to come into the pits. They're preparing a new front fairing for him. That's why he's got to come into the pits. So we'll see that card as it comes through. But Chivers Lee is without a front fairing. And of course, you have to have all patches of bodywork. There's the mechanical flag. And Chivers Lee is going to go past the start-finish line now without a front fairing. So he's got to come in. And obviously with the front fairing having been disconnected from the kart, there's no point continuing to race because you know you're going to have to come into the pits anyway. If that was me and the front fairing had fallen off, I would have taken it to the pits immediately. Right, here comes the bit of a problem, a knotty problem for Yukapo, because he's now got Teoh Hardia and Travis Teoh, the Indonesian and the Malaysian teammates at DRM Paralin, on his tail. He's got to close up on Jackson Susan Harlow and try and stay clear, because he knows that Teoh Hardia is going to be a big threat in this race. Susan Harlow going well here in front of Yukapo. This must be agony to watch for everybody back home in Australia. But Kai Burke sat in fifth position, doing everything he can to move his way further forward and just not getting the opportunity to make it happen. But the 15-year-old from Bundaberg in Queensland is not surrendering. Still fifth position, ahead of Daeng Ibrahim, then Talak, Komunakul, Misra, Runchin. And then we have Armstrong. INF1NITY is in the mix there. There is Kai Burke trying to stay in front of Daeng Ibrahim for the time being. It will not be easy to sustain this position, but it's certainly going to be a tough race all the way as Jackson Susan Harlow continues to lead this race. Yukapo second, Teoh Hardia is third from Travis Teoh, and Kai Burke down in P5. It looks as though the championship is going the way of Yukapo if it stays like this, but he's in second for the moment. And still the battle rages here at Bira. It isn't over yet. Daeng Ibrahim still putting Kai Burke under massive pressure. as he now makes his bid to go up the inside of the Bira Asia driver. But the Queenslandian going very well indeed here as he runs in position. Ibrahim and Tulloch are not far away. He could really do Kai Burke with having Tulloch right on his tail, because then they can work together and try and help Kai Burke go further forward, because the gap that they have lost to the leading quartet is sizable at the moment. So if Mark Tulloch can get ahead of Dying Ibrahim and then work with his teammate, they can close up on the top four much more aggressively. There's still a long way to go. There'll be 14 laps to go at the end of this one, as into the pits to repair the front fairing and put a new one on has come the 278. Not far away from being lapped, Chiversley, but he has got going again. Top four still very close together. Prasetyo Hardia really stamping on the attack here to try and close up on Yukapo. The fastest driver in the race so far is Travis Teoh. The Malaysian has actually got the fastest lap under his belt. Look at Prasetyo Hardia really starting to step it up here on behind Yukapo. 14 laps to go to settle this championship title. And all Yukapo has to do is stay in second place. Even the top five would do, because Kai Burke has got to win this race ultimately to get this job done. Unless it would be Burke in second and Yukapo in fourth. But Yukapo cannot afford to get into hot water here. There is the 277 of Travis Teoh running in fourth place. Prasetyo Hardia and Travis Teoh don't care squat about the championship, because neither of them are in it. They just want to take a victory in the final. So that is a problem that Yukapo may have to deal with over the course of this race. But certainly for the time being, it is going to go tight to the wire all the way. Very close from Prasetyo Hardia. Travis Teoh in fourth position. Kai Burke is still there in fifth position. And this is going to be the longest final of his life if he can't make progress from P5. He's got away from Dying Ibrahim. But there's a possibility that Mark Tulloch and Wadarong Komakul could make a bit of a helping hand for the Australian. Certainly for the moment, Yukapo has got his eyes firmly trained on the man in front of him and the man behind him. Jackson Suslin Harlow still going well in the lead, the Australian. And in third position, the Indonesian Prasetyo Hardia. Right, that is the 278 Chiversley being told, you are too slow, you need to get out of the way of the leaders. That is the blue flag with the red cross. It only comes out for the superheat and the final. But Chiversley is told, you need to come into the pits. That's what the blue flag with the red cross means. As Akshat Misra appears to be out of this race now. So I think Akshat Misra has pulled into the pits to retire. That is very unfortunate indeed for the Indian. So Akshat Misra is also on the sidelines along with Clifford Kanjanapis. The DRM team not having the best of finals here in Bira. But then when you've got the absences of the likes of Kimi Chan, Faraz Fazrafozi and Zadiev Raikal, who have been their core trio since the start of the season, with all three of them absent, it is going to be a tougher weekend, that's for sure. But Jackson Suslin Harlow is your leader at the moment as he continues his good run. Still putting on a great display. And it looks as though there were non-starters for the likes of Thomas George and Jenny Bibonnet. They did not take up the start. Here comes the challenge from Prasetyo Hardia. Trying to go right around the outside of Yukapo, and that's giving Jackson Suslin Harlow the chance to clear out in front. Yukapo shaking his head. He knows that Prasetyo Hardia is going to attack him. He goes for the inside line, and Hardia's in a second. Yukapo has to let him go. Prasetyo Hardia into second position. But the reason that Yukapo has to let him go is because, of course, he's got bigger fish to fry here. The man he's got to be focused on is Kai Burke, not Prasetyo Hardia. He knows where Kai Burke is now. He's looked a long way back. So he knows that Kai Burke is there or thereabouts. But he knows that Travis Teoh could get ahead of him as well. It's not a big panic if he does, because he's still looking to outscore him by 11 points. There is Kai Burke in the background. So Yukapo cannot afford to get into hot water here with Travis Teoh. If he makes a bid and he's far enough alongside, you may as well just let him go. Fourth position may not be where you want to finish, but if you want to be the champion, the only man you've got to beat is Kai Burke. So Travis Teoh still putting on the speed here as Jackson Suslin Harlow has got almost a second on Prasetyo Hardia. And that is great news for the Australian. It looks like we're going to get 6 different winners from the 6 finals in INFINITY IAME Series Asia Senior X30 title fight. So now we'll get to see if Teoh has enough pace in his Paralin to close up on Susan Harlow up front. But so far, Yuka is rather enjoying hunting down his old nemesis. Out of the hairpin. Doesn't matter to him. Hardia can't be champion. Yuka can. And all he's got to do is finish ahead of the red and white car behind them. Yuka in third place. Kai Burke in fifth. So that will do for the moment. Back onto the circuit has gone Chivers Lee, albeit a couple of laps adrift now. But he's still going strong. No, my apologies. He has actually pulled it in to retire. My apologies. So Chivers Lee out of this race, and that leaves us with only 26 karts. But Yuka right on the tail of Teoh. 9 laps to go. Beyond half distance. But Yuka is not breaking a sweat. Just count the laps down. Look after the tyres. And a historic championship title will be going his way. Not just because it will be another championship for Yuka, but it will be the first ever for an Asian-made chassis in international competition. Karting has been all about 2 areas of the world before this. Europe and North America. All the major winning chassis have come from those 2 parts of the world. But this is a big moment. If Yuka can hold on to this, all of the hard work from Explorer, they only decided to put the chassis into competition at round 2 after Yuka won the season opener. And they decided, no, we think the Explorer's ready. We think they're ready to go into battle now. And it's the consistency, the hard, no-nonsense battle for Yuka that has made him the championship contender he is. His consistency over the season is going to be a fairy tale finish if it stays like this for the remaining 7 laps in this race. There is Jackson Susan Harlow going into lap 14. Hardia, Yu, Teoh, Burke, Ibrahim, Tulloch, Komonakul, Tian, and Armstrong, the top 10. Then we've got Ayan Marwa, Zachary Boyce, Wadapong Yamchan, Paco Miguel Sarmiento, and the man in the final points paying position is Daniel Jagai. So the battle is going to go right down to the final couple of laps, but is Yuka going to be aggressive enough? There's Kai Burke, and there is Ibrahim, Tulloch, and Komonakul. So those 3 are battling away over 6th place. But it will be job done for the man from Hong Kong up front in 2nd position in the race for a while. Then it's now 3rd behind Teoh, the Indonesian. But Senior X30 is going to take us to a very cool and smooth end to the season. And we wait for the showdown to wrap up. Wadawong Komonakul, my apologies, on the GFC chassis from America. Komonakul, based in Bangkok. He is the distributor for GFCs in Asia, hoping to grow the brand. Certainly a top 10 in INFINITY IAME Series Asia in a final will prove that that chassis is worth a fair bit. But still, the battle rages as Mark Tulloch tries to close up on Dying Ibrahim and get away from Wadawong Komonakul. So Komonakul on the black and white GFC, closing up on the red and white Bira of Mark Tulloch. A fair replacement for Cooper Fish for this weekend, and he's done a fair job to keep himself in the fight for the top positions. He's currently running 7th as his teammate Kai Burke pushes as hard as he can for the top spot. They've tried every trick in the book to get Kai as close to the top spot as possible. It was a great start. He got into 3rd place, but once Hardia and Teoh were in front, there's been very little that Kai Burke can do to fight back, except just keep pounding and hope that he can look after his tyres better in the closing stages to tighten things up. Certainly for our race leader though, Jackson Susan Harlow, it's going to be a little bit of history, as from the 6 events, we're going to have 6 different winners of finals if it stays like this. Excellent display if that's the case. We've had victories this year from Yuka, Kimi Chan, Zadia Vrykal, Toby Gale, and Teoh. And it looks like we could have 6 from 6. It would be a perfect way to end the season. And it would be a genuinely sensational battle. It would also be a 5th different nation to win a final this year after Hong Kong for Yuka Po and Kimi Chan, Malaysia for Zadia Braikal, Thailand for Toby Gale, and Indonesia for Prasetyo Hardia. It will be a first Senior X30 win for an Australian in 2025. This is the man that we are talking about, Jackson Soslan Harlow. After an impressive run this weekend, we all knew he was going to be a threat coming in. Prasetyo Hardia still fancies his chances of going after him. And with 3.5 laps to go, he is looking quick. He is very strong at looking after his tyres, to be fair. So this isn't done for Prasetyo Hardia. He still fancies a win. Yuka Po being smart in third place ahead of Travis Teoh. Certainly doesn't need to overdrive the kart here. The fastest lap of the race has come from Travis Teoh in 4th position. There is Kai Burke in the background in the Bira. But still, Prasetyo Hardia pushes on. The gap has come down to as low as 0.3 of a second between Jackson Soslan Harlow and Prasetyo Hardia. This is good news for Yuka Po, because these two can battle away with each other, hold each other up, and there might be a chance for Yuka Po to give the Explorer not only its first title, but its first win in a final this year. He's been ever present and ever consistent since the start of the year. Plenty of top 5 finishes, a couple of heat wins as well. But what a way it would be to win with a final. He'll still be the champion even if he finishes 3rd behind these two, because Kai Burke is behind him as well. And there is a retirement. That is the 211. That is put Sunta Charutrang. So Sunta Charutrang out of the race now as well. He was one of the 2 drivers involved in the incident earlier on with Daniel Jagai, but was cleared to race. Miguel Quinones has also retired, I'm afraid to say. So that's bitter disappointment for Miguel Quinones. The field is now down to just 24 of the 31 drivers. But we've got a lap and a half to go. And Prasetyo Hardia still thinks that a victory is possible here to try and take on Jackson Soslan Harlow. If he goes for the win and it goes wrong, then it's all for nothing. These two in it for the win. Jackson Soslan Harlow trying his best to go for it. Prasetyo Hardia really starting to reel him in as they come onto the far side. Back straight is cooking for Prasetyo Hardia. Jackson Soslan Harlow has done enough, though, to keep the gap favourable. There's still about 2 car lengths between them, and that will do nicely for Jackson Soslan Harlow. He doesn't have to overdrive as they come out of the final turn. 1 lap to go in the season. The last lap of 2025. And Jackson Soslan Harlow has got the potential to win this. Prasetyo Hardia will not give up. He's going to push all the way. But in 3rd place, it will be enough to be champion for Yuka Po. So it all comes down to this final lap between Jackson Soslan Harlow and Prasetyo Hardia. Australia versus Indonesia. Kart Republic versus Paralin. Jackson Soslan Harlow still going all the way to the victory. It looks like it's going to be 6 different winners from 6 finals. It's been an amazing run to the checkered flag, but it will be a championship victory for Yuka Po in 3rd position. If it stays like this, Jackson Soslan Harlow drives out of the penultimate hairpin. It's going to be victory for the Australian. Jackson Soslan Harlow wins the final from Prasetyo Hardia, but Yuka Po is the champion of 2025 for Explorer, for PR1 and for Hong Kong. Fantastic race from Yuka Po. He is the champion of 2025. He's just taking it all in for the moment. It will hit him when he comes back to the pits, and everybody there is celebrating with him. But what a season it's been for Yuka Po. A season of consistency, a season of strength, a season of stamina and hard focus. But what a result it has been for Yuka Po. The champion is now confirmed in Senior X30. What an incredible end to the season for Yuka Po. But the race winner, and deservedly so, is another Australian in the paddock in 2025. Jackson Soslan Harlow, the Australian national champion, has got it done on his first visit to the INFINITY IAME Series Asia Championship. What a result for Jackson Soslan Harlow. He wins from Prasetyo Hardia in 2nd. But the new champion is Yukapo. Commiserations to Kai Burke. What a fight all season long. They did everything they could to vanquish the Explorer and the PR1 squad. But today, it wasn't to be. An amazing effort all year long. He finishes vice champion of 2025. But it was so, so close. A valiant victory in the championship for Yukapo. An amazing victory in the finale for Jackson Susan Harlow. A great end to the year for the Australian. He came with one intent: I want to win. And he did just that.